you read the screenplay. I'm sure you love the screenplay, but you had to make the movie. What was your initial like, oh my God, how are we going to pull this off?
Incredible question. Well, we were really boots on the ground. We started to carve out Bob's journey, who's our main character who lives up in the redwoods of Northern California. And then we traveled down, going to cities throughout California that I haven't really been visited, or shot or filmed at, and started to build the world. And what was incredible about that process is that we really got to carve out all these different moments and environments for each of these characters. So there's Bob's world, the beginning when you meet the French 75, which is a combination of Sacramento and Los Angeles, and then Midlands, California, when he meets the sisters, and then down to Texas for, moments with the border, and also that was our city for Eureka. So it was a massive undertaking to kind of stitch this movie together, but incredibly rewarding.
I'd argue the most important scene is actually the one scene Chase and Leo have together, really.
Yes.
And it sets up his character's changed completely. What was the point of that said? You had to make it, and you really had one moment to establish their two characters and the tone for the rest of the movie.
It was really important to show the contrast. Bob's such an idealist in the beginning, he's a revolutionary, and then we come to meet him 16 years later, and he lives in isolation, protecting his daughter, but that's also created a paranoid state that he's lived in, trying to protect her and also living, in this mysterious woods. So we went to the location that was also inspired by Violin, the Thomas Pynchon novel. And we worked really closely with Leonardo DiCaprio, working through Bob's character, noticing how people live in the woods, that, sheltered and cautious life. And so it's interesting because he goes from being a liberal to being a conservative, paranoid freak. And so, bringing those layers of what his life looks like now, which is, a middle-aged dad trying to raise his teenage daughter and maybe struggling like the best of them.
But contrast that to our evil white supremacy society.
Yes.
How did you want to contrast those two sets in those two different, places?
I mean, naturally they had a juxtaposition where Bob is enclosed by these redwoods. A lot of that activity, our makeshift military, is the border and desert and vast, desert lands, which is where Bob ends up as well. So I like to think about it as Bob being protected, and then not only is it a battle to get his daughter, but it's what happens when you get outside of your comfort zone and meet life and meet all these people. And I love the way that we find environments and we find characters and we don't know what happens to them. And so a lot of our work too is storytelling within those worlds, to go beyond the script of saying like, well, how do the sisters make money? How does Sensei make money? That was his development of the whole Harriet Tubman immigration sequence, was to give backstory and credibility to all these characters that Bob is interacting with, all these